What is the most important piece of information that you need to go from being a computer science student to a software engineer? That's the question that we're aiming to answer in this video. Hi guys, my name is Christian Ortiz and this is my buddy Logan.
Hey Christian, what's up guys? My name is Logan and I'm a student at FIU and I graduate in the year 2024 for computer science and I live in Colombia.
Appreciate you, Logan, and this is my buddy TJ.
Hello guys, my name is TJ Anderson. I'm currently a junior at Florida International University. I live here in San Jose, California with my wife Laura Anderson. I currently work at JP Morgan as a software engineer academic intern, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video.
And we're going to be interviewing the best software engineers that we know, from fresh hires and new grads to seasoned experts with years of experience under their belt, on the best advice that they could give us as computer science students. Not only that, we're also going to ask them how they advise us to prepare for technical interviews and something that they wish they knew going from being a student to a software engineer. There's a lot of different pieces of advice that each engineer gives, so you're definitely going to want to stick around and listen to it. And also, some of the stuff that they say you might not have heard in any other video that you've seen. It's really interesting stuff. Also, to introduce myself, I am a computer science student at FIU as well. I'm in my second year, and I also just got hired as a software engineering intern at Google in their STEP program. So if you'd like some information for that application process, how I set up my resume, my tips for that, I will give all that stuff at the end of the video. So that's it for the intro. Let's get started.
My name is Arturo Corral. I am currently a senior studying computer science at Florida International University. I'll be working at Kaseya as a software development engineer. I'll be most likely working somewhere with their security team.
What is the number one piece of advice you would give to a student that is hoping to become a software engineer?
Number one piece of advice, I would say try to fight your imposter syndrome. A lot of people come into this degree thinking that they need to know X many programming languages, X many skills, have this many leak code problems solved, and all of these extraordinary skills and talents. But in reality, what you just need to do is apply yourself little by little and just keep on trying. Rather than saying, I'll start applying next semester, start applying now, because you never know when you'll land.
Do it as early as possible.
Do it as early as possible, and don't be afraid of it. Applying to a job only costs 5 minutes of your time.
Yeah.
But who knows, maybe that job is what opens your doors into this field.
Hi, my name is Ai, and I am a software engineer at JP Morgan Chase in Palo Alto. And my number one advice for incoming software engineers would be to be comfortable with change and not knowing things, because as a software engineer, you're always going to be interacting with new technologies and new software that you may not be familiar with, and you're constantly going to be learning new things. So yeah.
My name is Murthy. I work as a software engineer at JP Morgan Chase. I've been in software engineering for the past 30 years. I worked in multiple companies in multiple domains. Currently, I work as an independent contributor, mostly as a software architect. The one piece of advice I would give new software engineers is to focus more on the fundamentals like data structures, database systems, release engineering, product development, and most of all, interacting with customers and understanding their product requirements very, very well. Most likely spend more than 80-90% of your time understanding the problem before we start implementing any solutions. That would be the key to your success, because it transcends time, it transcends any complex software projects if we understand what the customers are looking for.
Hello, my name is Brandon Tong. I am a software engineer at JP Morgan Chase, and I've been working for just a couple months actually, and I'm in their Palo Alto location, the Silicon Valley Tech Center. And the piece of advice I would have for people who want to become software engineers would be just to try to understand all the different facets of software engineering, because there's so many different areas. There's like front end, back end, there's like DevOps. And when I came into my job, I didn't know what all the various technologies or different areas were. So I think just like getting a better understanding of like the whole domain overall, and then just know some of the terminology, become comfortable with like speaking the language essentially. I think that's what I would say.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, my name is Nilsson. I work for a tech company in the area of transactional security. I'm the person who tests all the transactional security products of the company. Okay, I think the first piece of advice would be like get involved in several projects before your first job. I mean, if you can kind of like get into hackathons or internships or even, I don't know, open source projects, that would be better, because you get experience before your first job. Not only for the knowledge, of course, you're gonna learn a lot of it, but also from the networking that you can do there, because you will know a lot of different people.
Making friends and stuff helps as well.
My advice for technical interviews is to practice LeetCode in front of your friends and family. Ask them to just sit there and listen to you talk through the solution. Try to envision like you are teaching the solution to them rather than solving the question. I think it's really easy to kind of envision yourself in an interview teaching the solution to the interviewer instead of trying to solve it and getting the right solution or getting the best solution. And if you make a mistake while trying to solve the question, it's okay, just breathe, calm down, acknowledge it, and reset and move on. I think it's just as impressive to recover from a mistake than to just complete the solution as well. And I think that it shows the interviewer that, you know, you can make mistakes and you can also just recover from it.
Focus on your weak stuff. You get me? Focus. It's very common.
The weaknesses.
Advice, but focus on your weaknesses because a lot of people don't like to break out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
They just like to stay in it. So they'll just do questions that they're familiar with, but they won't advance. They won't get anywhere. A personal example could be I excel a lot with arrays and graphs, but I suck at dynamic programming and greedy algorithms because it's things that you aren't really exposed to in school. It was a lot of struggle for me to learn those problems, but once you dedicate yourself for it, it becomes just a routine easy.
So the best way to get prepared for technical interviews is no different in any industry, right? So the first thing is to understand the job role you're applying for. The second one is learning more about the company you're about to interview. The third thing is you could get some more information from your HR representative, what the interview panel is going to look like. The fourth one is understand more about the role, what you might be performing day to day, week to week, month to month, or year to year. The second part would be from the job description, you could expect what the questions are going to look like. So be prepared, assuming it's algorithm coding, for example. You should be well versed in data structures. If it is managing data and manipulating data, you should be well versed in how to know more about querying databases, for example. If you're going to deploy something on the cloud, you should know how the cloud functions. So depending on the role, you need to be prepared in those appropriate topics. The last but not the least, have some questions ready for the team. So whoever is interviewing you, they might have been working in that company for a while, so ask them questions. Never walk away without asking them questions. Ask them, hey, how long you have been here? How do you like the job? What do you think is the pressure? Should I be working on the weekends? What is the life balance if you work in a specific team you're going to interview for? So that will give you enough confidence because you are prepared for all kinds of scenarios. So remember, interview is always two-way. They might like you, you might not like them, or you might not like the role, right? So it's the other way around. You might not like the job, you ace the test, but they might not like us. So take lessons learned, move on to the next interview. Interviewing is always anxious. I worked in this industry for 30 years. Whenever I go for a new job, I'm still anxious, I'm still nervous, but I always go prepared. That's how I work around it.
The best advice that I can give for preparing for a technical interview, in my experience coming to JP Morgan Chase, the technical interview was composed of like a couple coding questions and some logic questions as well. So just like brushing up on some of the technologies that JP Morgan uses, you can probably figure out some of that stuff like through LinkedIn or just messaging some of the managers or recruiters. I'm not sure like where you'll get responses from, but that might be a good place to start. Just like understanding like the tech stack that JPMC uses would be a really great place to start because that will help like increase your domain knowledge and then like speak the language better, as I mentioned earlier. And then also LeetCode is really helpful. Just like brushing up, making sure that you're ready to like answer any quick questions on the spot. Answering some brain teasers would also be really helpful. I know they asked me like 1 or 2 brain teasers that I did not expect, so that's a really good thing to prepare for also. And I think honestly, just like becoming comfortable with the terminology and the tech that they use, just so that it doesn't sound like you got caught off guard or anything like that. And then also, I think one really important thing, and maybe this doesn't apply too much to the technical component, but it's just like showing off your soft skills. Because I think for JPMC and maybe even software engineers in general, a lot of times like software engineers will struggle with like having good communication skills. And I think that's a really important thing that can make your interview stand out completely, even though it's not like your technical component, but it shows that how you can communicate or how well you can like communicate your ideas to someone else, and that will definitely show through, I think, in an interview.
Okay, I think preparation is key, but sometimes you don't really know what you need, what you're gonna face in the interview. So for me, it's like if you can get the contact of someone from the company, you can look on LinkedIn or something like that.
Yeah.
Specifically in the position that you are going to be in, you can kind of like ask for advice or ask, okay, I'm applying for this job. I would like to have kind of like an insight of what should I study or what are the things that they are going to ask for, because most people will be willing to help you with the process.
One thing that I wish I knew before going into my first software engineering job is the importance of documentation. I think as a new software engineer, when you're joining a team, it's so much easier if there's something to read first before, asking your teammates about questions about an existing code base or an existing pipeline or things like that. And so having documentation is really important, not only for onboarding new members of the team, but also to make sure that dependencies are clear and that we're all communicating as a team.
Yeah, the second advice I would give you for any new software engineer is spend most of your time understanding the customer requirements beforehand. At least spend 70 to 80% of your time, so that way you will be clear in your design and you can come up with multiple options for your solution. And based on the consensus, always work in a team. And if the team decides this is the second or third approach is the best one, pick one and go for it. Even though it might not be your idea, it could be somebody else's idea. But be a team player and make sure that satisfies the customer's need before the product release.
In response to what do I wish I knew before I started my first software engineering job, I would definitely say I wish I knew how the workflow varies from a typical engineering job. I wasn't traditionally a software engineer by my major, so when I came into this role, it was a lot more individual and independent than I expected it to be. But I think I've acclimated well, and just taking time to understand how stand-ups work and how you should be contributing as an individual, and then also as a team during the right times is pretty important. So I think that was something I wish I knew, just because it helps you acclimate to the environment a little bit better.
I wish I have had a person who could give me a learning path, something like a mentor, someone who could give me you should learn first this and then this, because at the beginning I spent a lot of time learning different tools, several tools that I do not use nowadays.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I forget all those.
A lot of stuff you learn.
So if you can kind of have a learning path or a mentor, that would be better. And I wish I had that.
And go ahead, give your final words.
My final words?
Pretend you're talking to a student. You can even talk to the camera
All right,
if you want
so my final word is to keep on pushing, keep on going through. You're gonna experience a lot of rejection. You're gonna experience a lot of pitfalls and stuff like that, but good things don't come easy. There's a reason why we're a very sought after career, why this is superficial again, but why we're paid so well. It's because it's tough, it's not easy, but it's well worth it once you get to the finish line. And before you know it, you'll be a software engineer. So I recommend just trudging through, keep on going, don't let it stop you, a little bit each day, and just hang on in there. You got this, I believe in you.
So you made it to the end of the video and I appreciate you. Now let me give you guys my advice for preparing for the Google Step internship and how I think I got it. The first thing, and as a TA, I give this advice to all of my students in my classes. So there are 3 sections that you really want to focus on aligning with computer science. And the first one I'm going to say is the project section. The reason I'm bringing that up first is because projects is something that you can work on right now, like the same day today. You can go on Google, you can find a project that will align. I'd recommend that you look for a project that is a little bit more robust than say a tic-tac-toe. I would look for something that maybe has a database, something that maybe has a front end and a back end, something that has a nice UI that someone can interact with. That's what I did with my portfolio. If you want to look at my portfolio, I'll link it in the description. You can have a look at that. And if you need any advice for that, ask a question in the comments. The second area I want to bring up is the internships area. Now, of course, if you haven't gotten an internship yet, it's going to be, obviously you can't put anything in there. However, I will say that I didn't have an internship before this one, but what I did do is there was a class that was offered offered at FIU called Teaching Computational Thinking. This is a 0 credit class that I could sign up for. I signed up for it in my freshman year, and that class counted as an internship for FIU. So with your transcript, it showed as an internship. I taught kids from K through 12 programming in Python and little things like this. But because technically it's an internship, I put it on my internship area, and it has to do with computer science. If there is a class that your school might offer, look into that. Maybe there is some, very micro internship. I've actually heard that term, and somebody spoke to our class about it. Micro internship or sprinternship. Look into those little opportunities that are easier to get into that you can add in that'll boost your resume for these bigger internships that you want later. Now, the third area that I want you to focus on is your work experience. Now, what I did was, as soon as I finished programming 1, I spoke with my professor towards the end of the semester about becoming a TA. And she said that she'd be happy to have me, but she said that I had to finish programming 2 before I could become a UTA for programming 1, a teaching assistant. So speak with your professor towards the end of the semester and start asking them, because they're looking. Maybe even ask them in the middle, because they are looking for TAs. Do really well in the class, obviously, because you can't become a TA if you don't have a pretty good grade in the class. But if you can't get a position as a TA, whether because it's a little bit too late for you now or you don't have the grades, try to look into becoming a tutor, either for the school that you go to or look into being a tutor for, say, tutor.com. These things are work experiences, but that are in the computer science field. So now these 3 sections of your resume are all tied into computer science. I think that'll boost up a lot of your resumes. Now, other than that, of course, GPA is very important. I have a very high GPA, so that definitely helped. But all that together is what I did in order for me to get past the resume selection process. Now, for preparing for the technical interview, of course, there's probably a whole host of videos that I could make explaining the different ways you can prepare for it and the different things you need to know. But just to give you a basic overview, get on LeetCode, as everybody else says, and start practicing. Now, I will say that I didn't practice on LeetCode. I practiced on AlgoExpert. I personally thought that the LeetCode, the main page, the user interface of LeetCode was a little bit daunting, especially as a beginner that had never done a single problem before. I liked the way that AlgoExpert looked, how each question had the solution right there and other people's solutions, and the video explanation for me is huge. Even though I think LeetCode does have video too, I just like the AlgoExpert in general, the entire experience a little bit better. But there is also, I believe, NeetCode is another one that my friend used. So find the one that works for you, that you kind of vibe with the most. Of course, there's free with LeetCode and stuff like that, but I'm not sure that the free one comes with solutions. Of course, there is YouTube videos and stuff like that, but again, it's kind of whatever works for you as a person, so look around. And my last piece of advice for getting the Google internship would be to apply early. Now, I know that Google does a rolling admission, meaning that they're going to look at the first applicants before they look at the last applicants. It's going to be in order. So you want to get in there early, because you could be a great applicant, but if you applied last, they might have filled all the roles before they even get to your application. Other than that, I really appreciate you guys watching the whole video. There was definitely some interesting stuff these engineers had to say. I know I personally picked up a lot just from watching my interviews and my friends' interviews. If you like this video personally, consider liking the video here on YouTube as well, and also consider subscribing to the channel if you like this type of video, this type of content. All right, that's it. Appreciate you. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.